Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:07. It's O'Connor and Company on this Wednesday, day before Thanksgiving. It's always a fun day. I love the waiting. I love the anxious preparation for the big family feast and, of course, the football. Don't forget to watch the Lions. The last time the Lions won a football game on Thanksgiving Day was in 2016.
Oh, wow.
Gonna be a very, very fun day at my
Some
house.
similarities from 2016 to 2024?
Right, exactly. Put the pieces together, my friends. Also, coming up later in this program, in 30 minutes, we'll check in with Cal Thomas, find out what he's doing for Thanksgiving. 7:05, Charlie Spearing on Kamala Harris's reemergence yesterday. 7:35, Ron Halber with the Jewish Community Relations Council, talk about the ceasefire over in the Middle East. And then at 8:35, Sheriff of Frederick County, Chuck Jenkins. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. Are you? What do you do? Do you do a stuffing, a dressing? Do you do cornbread? Do you do sourdough? What do you do there?
Okay, we do a little bit of stuffing. We actually do Nigerian rice, jollof rice. That is actually the side dish of choice for everybody. But for those who are non-African or non-Black who will be joining us, we will have some white rice. I may make some coconut rice, a little bit of Caribbean flavor.
Do you have to have black skin to enjoy the Jaffa rice?
No. Jollof.
Good.
No, everybody loves it, but it can be spicy depending on how you make it, and so. But it's very flavorful.
You only live about 25 minutes from my place. There's nothing stopping you from bringing over a little container of some of that rice.
I will. Okay, that's a good idea.
Good.
That is a good idea. I'm going to have to bring some jollof.
Don't do it during the football game, though. I will not come to the door.
How about I deliver it to the office on Friday morning?
Good. All right.
You and Julie can taste test it on air.
Dude, that sounds fabulous, actually. All right. Yesterday, the Thanksgiving is a time when you get to run into old friends and family members that maybe you only see once a year or you haven't seen for a while. And, well, that's what it was like for the Democrats yesterday as a long-lost friend reemerged to say hey. Her name is Kamala Harris. You might remember her. She was the candidate for president just about, 3 weeks ago? And she delivered a message. So she met with two different groups. First, she met with all of the big donors. We have no video from that, sadly. I would have loved to see that video where she explains how she wasted $1.5 billion. And, by the way, we're $20 million in debt. Can you float me a loan? But she also sent a video message to the grassroots. And, well, for some inexplicable reason, the Democrat Party actually posted a 28-second clip of it. And a lot of people are talking about it. I want you to listen. See the visual as well if you're near social media. Grab it off of the WMAL account. But take a listen to this. It's cut 5, Mike.
I just have to remind you. Don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
So I'm torn on this. I'm torn on this because...
On the visuals or the message?
All of it.
Or the delivery?
All of it. Well, what I'm torn on is, was she drunk or not? I can say as your...
Because
we always lead with facts here, and then we give our analysis. So I cannot factually tell you absolutely she was drunk, all right? I can tell you that she looked drunk. I can tell you that she sounded drunk.
Oh, boy.
But I can also tell you that during the entire campaign, they kept her so controlled and so scripted and so telepromptered and so protected in a bubble. We saw clips of her when she wasn't the candidate, when she was vice president, and she was a disaster. So maybe this is just Kamala being Kamala, and what we saw during the 100 and some odd days when she was the candidate was just this prepackaged, made-for-TV persona.
Yeah.
Or, the regular Kamala that we see every day is also one that likes to dip into the rum bottle every now and again. I mean, what did you just fall out of a coconut tree? I don't know.
Listen, Larry, this is Hillary Clinton 2024 version.
Yes, well.
Obviously, you've got someone who still can't fathom the loss. Where her own internal campaign leadership is now telling us the truth, which is that they knew she was not ahead in any of their internal expensive polling. That really is what was driving their campaign. So she was really putting on for us that hope and that joy and excitement. She was really trying hard. Now we're seeing someone who isn't getting makeup and hair every day. So we're seeing the do it DIY makeup hair routine. We're seeing somebody who probably has spent a lot of time crying. Her eyes are probably a little bit puffy. You know, maybe she's not had as much food as she had or healthy stuff as she had before. This is really just Kamala still trying to deal with the grief of having lost what she thought she was going to win.
All right, here's one thing that you're right. It's probably all of those things. And yeah, I can't imagine what it's like when you feel like you're about to be president of the United States and then it all gets ripped out, especially you lose to a person and to a group of American voters who you've demonized as the worst of the worst and garbage for the last several months.
Absolutely.
It's got to be humiliating. It's got to be devastating. She's also spent a week to recover in Hawaii, and I don't care what I've been through emotionally, but if I get a week in Hawaii, I'm going to be feeling good, okay? I'm going to be better at least than she is right here. Listen, we're speculating right now. What I can tell you definitively, and I will bet my career on it.
Okay.
People who worked with her do not like her. Not everyone, but I will guarantee you the majority of people who were on the campaign staff, the majority, we know for a fact that she burned through her vice presidential staff like it was dry wood in California during wildfire season.
And they didn't keep their mouth shut afterwards either. There is no love loss.
That's right. And I can also tell you that people in the hierarchy infrastructure of the Democratic Party and the actual Biden-Harris, then the Harris-Walz campaign infrastructure loved and were devoted and dedicated to Joe Biden, and a lot of those people who were carried over into the Kamala Harris campaign, they still are angry and bitter, and I bet a lot of them think if she hadn't muscled Joe Biden out, we would have won this campaign. And so the fact that the Democrats posted that video on their account, it tells me that there's someone internally that greenlit this, that gave it the thumbs up, and they did it because they want to undermine any opportunity this woman thinks she has to move on and be the candidate again in 28.
Well, that's interesting because she is telling people, and this is one of the headlines that we're seeing here. Harris, this is, I believe, Politico. Harris is telling her advisors and allies to keep her political options open. Yeah. So she could run for president or at least governor of California. It's not surprising. I feel like a lot of these politicians, they crave power, and many of them are megalomaniacs. They want to stay in office, and they think that it was somebody else's fault other than their own. Even listening to her campaign staff talk about the questions I'm sure we can get into
Hold
it
that thought. That's the next step. All right, well, we'll get to that. Get to what people are saying. People from her campaign who continue now 3 weeks out to act like she was the perfect candidate and she ran a flawless campaign. It was just they never had a chance against Donald Trump. I don't think that's true, and we'll break it down, Patrice and I will, in just a moment. First, though, it's 6:15, WMAL, traffic and weather. Traffic and weather. I promise I have not been drinking whatever Kamala's been drinking, all right?
You're pre-gaming it, Larry.
Every 10 minutes first on the Fives with Jamie Whitten, who is pretty much always intoxicated every morning here. That's a dirty little secret. She didn't just wake up. She's about to go to bed when the show is over. She's in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
Hilarious. Come on.
Oh, my God. I love you, Jamie. I love you.
I love you more. All right. What I love.
WMAL. Making sense of the news.
Live
from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th.
I love you, man. I love you. Have I told you how much I love you? You're the best. Really, really weird, awkward, unflattering
Absolutely.
portrayal of the vice president, who, by the way, I should remind you as we say, oh, she's lost it, she's drunk, she's this, she's that. She's a heartbeat away from the presidency still for the next 2 months.
That is right. That is right. She's still the sitting vice president. She's still the tie-breaking vote in the Senate right now.
God help us all.
She still wields power.
And yes, they're suggesting that she has a political future. She's trying to keep all of her options open. On behalf of J.D. Vance and any other Republican who would like to succeed Donald Trump in 2028, may I just say on their behalf, do it. Do it. Democrats, start now, rally. You know what? You should do exactly what you did this time. No primaries, no debates. Lock it in right now. Kamala Harris. If you really thought Kamala Harris was this transcendent political figure that you kept telling us about for the last 150 days, and that she was the greatest thing and would be a groundbreaking, she's right up there with the founding fathers, then you'd be a hypocrite if you didn't let her have the nomination 4 years from now. You know, I understood why you didn't renominate Hillary Clinton 4 years after 2016 because she was up there. But Kamala's got a bright future. She's only 50, or no, she's only 60, excuse me. She's got 20
She'll
years
be around
left.
for a while.
You should keep running her every 4 years until she's too old to do it, right? I mean, please.
From a strategic standpoint, that's absolutely what we should be saying. We should be cheering her on to keep running. But the left, I think, is split on this. You've got the donors, the mega donors, who are looking at the $1.5 billion that she blew, and the fact that now the laid off campaign staff, they need to have a GoFundMe page just to pay them out because they're broke right now. So you've got the mega donors who absolutely think that this is disqualifying. How can you make a claim to run the country, a country with a budget of $6 trillion a year and a debt of over $36 trillion, and you can't run your own campaign without going into losses? But then you also have, I think, the others, the maybe the grassroots or more. I call them the elites. Yeah.
Real fast, let's get to the grassroots in a second. But on the big money donors, John Morgan, one of those mega, very few of them are speaking out, but you get one or two of them. John Morgan, who is a mega donor, was on News Nation with Chris Cuomo Monday, and he said, this is a great quote, "If you can't run a campaign, you can't run America. This disqualifies her forever." Now, listen, I think Chris Cuomo had this guy on because he wants to boost his brother's chances in 2028. Andrew's going to run. But still, I mean, the donors are starting to align behind the people that they would really rather have. They all felt stuck with Kamala Harris, like they were stuck with Joe Biden. So you'll hear voices like this, but that is so important. Listen, a campaign is not just about winning the election. It's about showing the American people what kind of president you might be. Her one major choice was Tim Walz, an unmitigated disaster, all right? And number two, she showed that she couldn't make big decisions under pressure. There's a reason why she never did live interviews. There's a reason why she was so controlled. It's because under pressure, she can't make a good decision. And that's what a campaign is all about. And by the way, that's what being president is all about. So good for this guy. If you can't run a campaign, you can't run America. She just proved she can't get it done.
You need to be able to run a massive organization that has lots of different parts, lots of different agendas, and big budgets. And if she can't do that, and she proved that she didn't. But now you're up against, I think, the other side, which is both the grassroots and also that mid-tier elite group of folks who are not big mega donors, but they have just enough clout. They have just enough enough influence in their different spheres to be able to say, well, you know, she came close. You know, she pulled how many million people. So it's going to be interesting to see where those folks start to line up, if they line up behind her and give their allegiances early, or if they decide to say, okay, we should actually have an open primary and see who the best candidates could be. Because I still think that Gretchen Whitmer would have been a really interesting candidate to run up against President Trump, but we never got to see that.
Well, see, and that isn't that funny? Maybe we should have a primary process. Maybe we should actually let the Democrats
or a
decide.
second primary process when the first one Things don't
All right.
quite work
So,
out.
American businessman and former software engineer. It is interesting to see all the tech billionaires so quickly move out of the Democrat woke column and sort of follow Elon Musk's independent trail to Republicans, I should say. Mark Anderson was on Joe Rogan, and he had something to say. So, again, this is a billionaire who travels in these big money circles. He's pulling back the curtain and letting you know what their conversations are from behind closed doors about their involvement in politics. Here, take a listen.
Completely isolated away from the lived experience of just normal people, which is the state that I found myself in, where it would never even occur to you to talk to a garbage man or to somebody, running a restaurant or whatever, because it's just like you're not affected by the rising crime rates because you live in a safe neighborhood.
Right.
And you've got you're against the wall on the border, but you got a wall around your house.
Right.
Right. And so you're in this bubble. And then you only ever talk to people who agree with you.
Right.
And then the media is constantly reinforcing it. And then you get ostracized if you disagree.
And that's
the wedge.
That's the wedge.
And it worked. Look, for a long time, for 40, 50, 60 years, it worked as a way to gain and hold political power. It's just gotten wedged in kind of this corner where it can no longer win. And so,
yeah, that's right. And that's the lesson. Now, whether enough within the Democrat Party infrastructure who constantly ends up deferring to the big money interests, look at Hillary Clinton against Bernie Sanders, look at Joe Biden against everyone, look at the Kamala Harris coup. Whether they hear it, whether it makes a difference, who knows? I can just tell you that the Donald Trump campaign, the irony here is an actual billionaire ran for president with grassroots support, and he overcame.
And could speak to the garbage man, drove a garbage truck, and actually worked at McDonald's flipping fries. Yes, hilarious how that's worked out, right?
The postmortem on this campaign continues. Stephanie Cutter and David Plouffe, both from the inside, they both did podcasts in the last 48 hours. What they had to say about the inside of the campaign is fascinating. We'll get to that later in the program. And Cal Thomas is coming up next at 6:24.
Now,
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
6:37, it's O'Connor and Company on this day before Thanksgiving. I don't know how you're going to celebrate tomorrow, but I only hope that when the food is over and you're watching football, whatever bottle you crack open to sort of take the edge off, you don't overindulge like our Vice President Kamala Harris clearly did, in my opinion, in this video that has gone viral here. Her message to Democrat supporters where she looks like, well, the message is, go have a bottle or two of wine and everything will feel better. Coming up later in the program at 7:05, we'll get Charlie Spearing, author of Amateur Hour, Kamala Harris in the White House. At 7:35, Ron Halber, CEO of the Jewish Community Relations Council, talk about the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. And at 8:35, Frederick County Sheriff Chuck Jenkins. That's Patrice Onwuka.
Good morning, everybody.
And I'm Larry O'Connor. And joining us right now is Cal Thomas. Cal, I know you like the traditional musicals. I'm a big fan of Wicked. Whenever my friends are going to New York and they say, Larry, we know you know Broadway. What show should we see? Unless there's a really solid revival, I'll just say go see Wicked. You'll guaranteed you'll enjoy yourself. It's a good show. But the promotion for this movie is relentless. Where do you stand? Are you going to go see it?
Probably not. I saw the original Broadway cast, which was really amazing. The New York Times didn't like it, which made me want to go see it even more.
That's right.
I thought it was a terrific show, and it's obviously turned into a franchise. This is the first time, I think, that they've, at least in recent years, that they've done a two-part movie, meaning you, I guess, like the double headers now in baseball, that you got to buy tickets for both performances.
Yep. Yeah, they're trying to make it like a Harry Potter or a Marvel's action hero movie. It is a musical. Everyone should be prepared for that. And I don't know how they're taking a 2-hour and 45-minute Broadway musical and turning it into a 5-hour film extravaganza, Cal. But, they're figuring out a way with the budget, I suppose, and they're going to make money off it. It does look stunning. Oh, yeah. But
I'm sure it does. The reviews have been quite good, and there's going to be a lot of bathroom breaks, I think, and lots of popcorn sales. 5 hours.
Oh well, no. The second part is going to come out next year, so you'll have plenty of time to go to the bathroom.
Oh,
well, I appreciate that. That's good to know. Listen, I want to say how thankful I am for you guys and everything you do in the morning to bring joy and news and information, and in your case, Patrice, good looks to Washington.
Oh,
thank you. That's very
true.
kind.
Nothing about that is false. Cal, and we're
I-
grateful for you every Wednesday as well.
I think
Thank
in
you
this
very
season
much.
of gratitude, I'm grateful to work with Larry and a wonderful team, and to have great guests like you. Now, talk to us
Yeah.
about your column this week about really the message behind Thanksgiving and what the intention was. Really, who should we be showing gratitude towards?
Well, we take a lot of things in America for granted. I'm going to speak about this in my commentary later today on this wonderful station. But when we're born here, we have to realize that there are other people who paid the price to give us the kind of freedoms we enjoy. Traditionally, beginning with not only the first official Thanksgiving from Abraham Lincoln, but really going back to the Pilgrims, they were always aware that they were the recipients of the blessing of God. These things don't happen automatically. You look around the world, you see oppression, you see lack of freedom of the press, religious fanaticism. This is why so many people are fleeing countries. So it shouldn't be a cliche that we thank God for the many blessings we received. Now, I know that a few years ago, Barack Obama was saying we ought to talk about politics around the Thanksgiving table. That's a really bad idea then, and given what we've had this year, it's even a worse idea. So unless you could guarantee people of a similar political worldview, you probably should avoid the subject, which would be something like getting a wishbone stuck in your throat.
Hey, Cal, you've got another column about fluoride. It's fascinating to see. Listen, we've highlighted the public debates over health over the years. I mean, I've been on the air long enough to tell you that eggs were bad and eggs were good for you, that red wine was bad and now red wine is good for you. That, they constantly changes. This new debate, and especially now that RFK Jr. is going to be the Secretary of Health and Human Services, over fluoride is fascinating. Now, I had no idea that fluoride was introduced into the water system before it got introduced into toothpaste. And one must wonder, Cal, it's pretty common, and it's 100% ubiquitous that fluoride is in your toothpaste, and we've all used fluoride whenever we brush our teeth. So why is it still in the water supply?
Well, I'm old enough to remember the John Birch Society and other right-wing groups back in the late 50s and early 60s that claimed that fluoride was a commie plot that was being introduced into our water supply to weaken our resolve against the commies. And I added in my column to come steal our women. But anyway, this is very bizarre. I mean, European countries, some employ fluoride in their water and toothpaste, and others don't. Fine, but why is this coming up in the year 2024? It's started with RFK Jr., but it now has been exacerbated by the Surgeon General of the state of Florida, and he cites certain very controversial studies that show that fluoride can have negative effects on your brain. So I say in my column, I'm resisting the temptation to connect that to some members of Congress.
Well, your stoic resilience in that cause is duly noted here, sir. We always try to keep it incredibly dignified. Cal, yes. You're going to do the big roasted turkey situation tomorrow?
Yes. After supporting my children for so many years, I'm going out and freeloading off of my son and taking nothing with me except a good appetite.
Excellent. Well, enjoy it and root for those Lions. They're America's team this year. It's absolutely a Cinderella story.
Well, it is indeed. And I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, both of you, and we'll talk to you next week.
God bless you, Cal Thomas.
But you too. Bye-bye.
It is 6:43.
Mark Levin, weeknights from 6 till 9.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Right, and since it was just mentioned, I want to let you know that I'll be filling in for Mark Levin tonight from 6 to 9 p.m. So if you didn't get enough of me this morning, or if you want my reaction to whatever happens from 9 a.m. till 5:59 p.m., well, you'll get that at 6 p.m. tonight right here on WMAL.
Something will happen. Or maybe you could share some of your Thanksgiving recipes, Larry.
That's the thing.
Having done your prep. Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, if it's a slow news cycle today, I will talk about my stuffing recipe and Lions football. Either way, Mark Levin tonight, 6 to 9. Catherine Herridge is a great investigative reporter, well-sourced, has a track record of really solid reporting when she was at Fox News and later at CBS News. Then she was unceremoniously dumped from CBS
Yes.
News. There was wild speculation about what was behind that. Also, a lot of people, journalists especially in this town, raised eyebrows when CBS News sort of confiscated her laptop and all of
That's
her
right.
work product, all of her reporting. Well, Catherine Herridge has taken some time and kept her mouth shut, I'm guessing because of legal and contractual obligations. She then started her own subscription channel on the X platform, and slowly she's been breaking some stories. And her latest breaking story, well, is about herself and about her relationship with CBS News. Partly with regard to her reporting on the Hunter Biden scandal and the whistleblowers at the IRS that were basically saying that the investigation had been obstructed. And now we're learning, based on a new report, that CBS News stepped in when she had an exclusive interview with none other than Elon Musk. Here's Catherine Herridge on a portion of this report.
I had conversations with some of the reporters connected to the Twitter files, and I was in my head thinking that there might be an opportunity to tell that story on CBS News. We had a number of topics under discussion. They didn't go as far as we had hoped. But at the end of the day, this opportunity to interview Elon Musk was developing. So I went to the CBS executives and I said, this is the opportunity that we have. He's saying, I want to do it live and on my platform. He's one of the most influential human beings on the planet. And the reaction from the executives was, well, we can't do it live. And I was like, what do you mean we can't do it live? It's like, well, we don't know what he's going to say. I was like, well, I'm thinking, isn't that the point of journalism? You don't know what the person's going to say? Well, it has to be taped. We have to have the ability to edit it. It has to be on our platform. We have to control the platform. We talked at one point about whether we could do it sort of like a simulcast between the streaming network and maybe X.
Okay.
But everything just got shut down.
So this is fine. It's just so revealing that, what we do is live every day for 4 hours.
That's
and of
right.
course, we don't know what our guests are going to say. But that's the point. If they say something that is outrageous or whatever, that's news. They're not in the business of news anymore. CBS News shut that down because they wanted to control what people saw or heard. And that's exactly what we've seen at 60 Minutes, owned by CBS News, where they deceptively edited the interview with Kamala Harris. They still haven't released the transcript. More black eyes for CBS News. Patrice, I don't know what business they're in over there at CBS News, but it sure doesn't sound like journalism.
Well, no, they are. They absolutely have made it clear that they are about whatever information they want you to know and have it presented to you in a particular biased viewpoint. They are about shaping viewpoints. They're not about real journalism. Right. And I think Catherine Herridge she is amazing, and she's done a great job of blowing the covers off of what's going on at CBS accidentally.
That's right. And now she's got a free platform like X, but there's other streaming services. YouTube, I got to say, has been getting better, and they're not deleting accounts and censoring it the way they had been during the height of this, I think because they've got competition now. Quickly, people like Catherine Herridge and other broadcasters are going to find a way to stream directly to consumers, very much we've been doing here on WMAL for decades now. Welcome to the party, pals.
Then you're going to hear the Axios head go off about how what we do and how
Jim Vandehey is hurt worse by all of
going
this.
off about it. Yeah, exactly.
It's 6:53.
Making sense of your world.
I agree with you 100%.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
There's a lot of us out there
Making sense of the news.